how you are doing? Cosmic Carry here, bringing you another World of Tanks video. And today I'd just like to discuss, this is going to be a bit of a, not ranty, rambling vid, I guess, where I just discuss stats, WNA, win rates, etc, etc. Because a lot of people out there, well, maybe you're obsessed, maybe you're not, maybe you're hung up on your stats, maybe you're wondering about them, etc, etc. And I just wanted to speak from personal experience based on playing the game for 5 odd years. And granted, 100%, I'm not a fantastic player. My WN8 is currently at 2,200, something like that, which makes me, I think it's blue above average. I think Unicum is 2,400, something like that, I believe, or 2,400, I believe. That's when. So I'm right below Unicum, which doesn't mean a lot, you know, to me, because I don't think I'm Unicum, and there's different kinds of Unicum players, and I kind of want to get into this, talk about this in this vid, etc, etc. My win rate is currently at 50%. 50%. How dare I? It's almost. It's just below 55%, and these are my stats. These stats are. I don't think they're going to go up. I don't think they're going to go down, because they've been pretty much the same for about a year or two now. You know, they have not budged, they have not moved, and they kind of, in terms of win rates and WN8, they define me. They don't define me as a player, but they, in terms of WN8 and win rate, I win on average, you know, for the past 2 years now, because I've the first 2-3 years were kind of like a learning curve, where I was learning the game, where I was trying to figure it out. Yes, when I started the YouTube channel, you know, I won't say I didn't have a clue, but I was definitely like a noob trying to figure it all out. And as the years went by, I learned more and more and more, and I do feel like, I'd say a year or two ago, you know, my knowledge reached about, I'd say, 80 to 90%. And what I'm trying to say is, you never learn everything. You're always learning something new. So that remaining 10 to 20% is always continuously kind of, you know, you're filling it in. You're learning stuff. You're learning. You know, the game is, you always need to be learning from your mistakes. And so 55% of my games I win. You know, my WN8 is heavily based on damage. There's other factors that come into WN8, but the majority is damage, and I think this is a pretty decent tool for kind of gauging, figuring out how well you're doing in you know, for the day kind of thing. How are you doing, and etc, etc. It doesn't necessarily define you, I would say, you know, because I recently rolled out in my Tier 9 Soviet Heavy Object 705, and it was stock tank, it was not upgraded, and I proceeded to have the worst, the absolute bottom of the barrel, bottom of the pit, worst 10 games I've ever had. I think I averaged about 1 shot per game, and it was just the worst. And that tank was in my bottom 10 WN8, and the stats are still absolutely terrible on that tank. I did since I upgraded, you know, the stats got somewhat better, but yeah, you know, so, but that doesn't really define me, you know, because RNG comes into play, bad luck comes into play, good luck comes into play. You know, there's so many factors that come into play when you're playing this game, and it's kind of your job to overcome all these factors, you know, the negative factors, and try and get a decent result, try and get a good result, you know. Maybe don't go down if they're lemming training down that one side, maybe don't follow them. Maybe the time of day, you know, if you're playing late at night, there's no kids about. It's all tryhards. It's all really decent players because all the kids have gone to bed. So maybe you should just switch servers. That kind of sometimes works for me. Playing at 2, 3 in the morning. You're playing with those hardcore people. It's switching tiers and but but I do have to say that when I first looked at my stats, and I know some of you are going to say, "Oh, you're obsessed with your stats." This is what this video is about. This is what we're discussing. This is what we're talking about in this vid. When I did first look at my stats, I think I was about a year into playing the game, and I was about 1,600 WN8, and my win rate was, I think it was about 46%, something along those lines. So there was a lot of work to be done to bring it back, to bring it up as far as I could, and this is it. I cannot 55, just below 55%. I'm not sure if I've ever hit 55%, but just below my 55% is where I average. It's plateaued. It's not going up. It's not going down. WN8, same thing. It's just plateaued at 2,200, and now it's not going up and it's not going down. These are the stats that kind of these define me in terms of WN8 and win rate. But I do have to say it's different for everybody. There are 100% different kind of players. And I never kind of works on improving my win rate. If we're discussing win rate, first of all, it just improved over time with me learning how to play the game with experience. That's what improves your win rate. A lot of people will ask, how do I improve my win rate? How do I get out of being a 45%, 48%? There's a lot of stigma attached to having that win rate. Not according to me. I couldn't give it a toss, but again, we're discussing it. We're talking about it. Over time, it'll just go up. As long as you're learning from your mistakes, as long as the tank that you're playing in, you've done your research, you've watched your Quickie Baby vids, you've watched your whatever vids, I haven't got a clue. Hate the way he says substantial. Hate it. Nobody says substantial like he does. It's substantial. I can't even say it properly. These things, as long as you've done your homework, you need to do your homework. You have to do your own work in terms of what tank you're in terms of tactics for specific maps. Your type of tank. Are you placing it in the proper locations on specific maps? Are you doing the best that you can? Are you giving it your all? If you're not, if you're just lazily expecting it to go up over time just because, well, I got news for you. It's never going to change. It's always going to remain the same, whatever it is. Low, basically. You need to 100% do your homework, and my WN8 went up over time just by itself, basically, because I learned how to play the game, I understood the mechanics, and it just went up over the time, and now it's plateaued at 2,200. But I don't fall into the bracket of the players that are at my level in terms of WN8, 2,200. We're not all the same. We're completely different. Some players maybe play lights more and maybe play mediums more. Some players maybe don't play lights or mediums at all and they play heavies, So there's different players out there, and it's just kind of giving different scores in terms of WN8, and these numbers kind of do not define you, because I could most probably find a player who has same WN8 as myself, and they've never touched the light tank, they've never touched the TD, or etc, etc. These kind of figures don't define you, but they're a good indicator of are you doing well? Are you heading in the right direction? You know, if you kind of check your WN8 for the day and it's yellow and it's red, you know, because WN8, like I said, is mostly based on damage and doing damage in a game. It's how can he how can he how can he how can he how can that not be a good thing? It's a good thing, 100%. It's mostly based on damage. That's the main criteria that goes into figuring out your WN8. There's other stuff that comes into play as well. I think it's number of kills and wins, but the percentage wise, it's, you know, the majority of your WNA comes from, you know, the average damage that you do in the set attacks. How could I improve my WN8? And this is kind of where we talk about, you know, cooking the books. This is when people talk about people stat padding. You know, I could 100% become unicorn. You know, right now, not right now, but you know, over time, I could bring my stats up. 100%. It's not that hard. You can do it. But the thing is, your stats don't lie. You can look at somebody's stats, and if you take a look, if you take a look at my stats, for an instance, they don't lie. There's nothing glaringly obvious that comes to mind, apart from the fact that I've played a lot of games in the Death Star and I've played a lot of games in the E100. My stats in those two tanks are pretty decent. They're not unicum, you know. I don't play them necessarily to pad my stats or anything like that. I just play in them because I like them. You know, one of the E100 was my first tier 10. The Death Star was my second, I think it was, or third, something along those lines. And I enjoy playing in those two tanks. You know, that's why the majority of my games. If somebody's unicum and the majority of their games, you know, are played in OP machines, I don't know, like Chrysler Ks, Panzer 5.4s and stuff like that, then that kind of, you need to kind of figure out, is that kind of prepping up this guy's stats? Is it kind of artificially pushing up the guy's stats? Because that's what I could do right now, for instance. You could barely do any damage. Yes, 100% the Panzer 5.4 comes to mind. And it just, your stats are, you know, they're just there, baby. You know, it just pumps unicum blood into your stats. Lower tiers, you can move into lower tiers. You can pump up your stats big time. You know, I could do that tomorrow. I love playing in my T-Rex, and I was very careful. If you take a look at my stats, if you take a look at my stats, I do have a lot of games played in my T-Rexes. I have two T-Rexes. I have both versions, and in one of them I have almost 200 games, but I have not touched those tanks for years. And the reason why I had a lot of games played in the T-Rexes is because I was training up crews. They're the most efficient way of training up crews, and I was training up American crews. I wanted all my tanks to have, you know, decked out fantastic crews. I've got a lot of American tanks and I need a lot of American crews, so that's what I used them for. And I said to myself, okay, this is gonna possibly maybe, you know, push up your stats a bit. These T-Rexes are going to be in your top 10 tanks WN8 wise, but can you live with that? You know, Cosmic, can you live with, yeah, I can live with that, you know, because I'm going to have some fantastic crews, and if anybody asks, I'll tell them F off, you know. That's genuinely why I was playing in them. But yeah, you know, that's what I'm talking about. You know, the stats don't lie. If somebody's unicum and they brag about it, and you're kind of looking up to them, oh, I wish I could beat that guy. Take a look at their stats. Do they have like an even amount of games played in, you know, the upper 8, 9, and 10 tiers? Is he heavily focused on light tanks? Light tanks, for instance, very easy to get super duper WN8. In light tanks, you just do a little bit of damage, you know, because they're quite tough to play. But once you've mastered them, it's just like you kind of do 800 damage, and you're super unicum, and you're kind of scratching your head. How, you know? Okay, whatever, you know. So you know, stats. they just don't lie, you know. They just don't lie. And if you're cooking the books, it's kind of obvious. So in a month or two, if I wanted to, I could push that crap up, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, no problemo. But I don't want to, you know. My stats are my stats. They are what they are. If somebody wants to check out my stats and have a look at what kind of player I am, you know, they'll see that my Object 705 sucks balls, etc., etc. But you know, bad RNG, bad luck, bad this, bad. You know, it is what it is. But like I said, you know, and truth be told, the handful of games that I had in the 705 and even the 200 games that I played in the T-Rex, they barely have an effect on my overall, you know, stats, because I have 35,000 games played in total. So yeah. So anyhow, okay, we're finished. We're done. We're good. Yeah. Have I explained everything to you? For those of you that are kind of new to the game, trying to figure it out, trying to improve your WN8, your win rate, etc., etc. Be smart, be cool, do your homework, watch those vids, watch my vids. Don't watch. I'm not gonna say. Just watch. You know, just do your friggin' homework. Do your friggin' homework. You know, people will tell you don't lemming train. That is bullshit. What are you gonna do? Head down that flank solo like a hero and say, "No, I'm gonna take care of this." No. Well, you're gonna be dead. You know, in 2 minutes, and you're gonna be yelling on the phone over the mic. Nobody gives a hoot. You're dead. You know, go with the lemming train. Try and do your best. Your team is a bunch of idiots. You know, what are you supposed to do? You know, you can hang back, hide in the bush, maybe alert your team when they finally do come towards the base. I mean, do something, but definitely don't go. A lot of people will say, I guess I'm doing taking this flank myself, you know, John Wayne style. No, you know, play it smart. I would say the best advice I would say, you know, try and last till the end of the game. That'll improve, you know, your gameplay significantly, you know, because when you reach the end of the game, yeah, I'd say like that's one of the best things. When you reach the end of the game, mostly, you know, the enemy players are really weak, and a lot of them are one shots, and you can roll in. If you got like a bat chat and you're in full health, you know, I got a Radley today because I was just hanging back, being passive. And what happens at the end of the game? I get a Radley, top of the leaderboard. You only saw me for the last like 3-4 minutes of the game, but I'm top of the leaderboard. Who gives a shit what you got to say about me and my performance? I'm top of the leaderboard. You know, is my team complaining? You know, yeah. You know, just yeah, never YOLO. Stay back. You need to get that. You know, initial. Look for mistakes initially. This is how you play the game. Stay back, hand back, allow your team to spot, look for mistakes by the Reds, take advantage of those mistakes. Remember, if you're front line, if you're out front in front of your teammates, chances are everybody's going to shoot at you first because you're out front. Do you understand that? So if you're behind your teammates, the chances of them shooting at you drop drastically, significantly. I'm telling you, you know, this is the secret. And you can take pot shots, not with impunity, of course. You know, people, you get the occasional, but yeah, just hang back, take advantage, get in there, try and brawl, you know, and never fight a fair fight. You know, never fight a fair fight. Never. You know, play dirty. All of it, all of the above. 2-on-1, you know, track people, take advantage of the fact that they're in siege mode and all that crap, and yeah, just always play on your terms is what I'm saying. And when you play on your terms, you always have the upper hand. You know, element of surprise, all of that. They've all the great generals and shit have used that crap in history. And anyhow, I'll shut up. Take it easy, guys. Adios, muchachos.